Okay, I'm going to call to order our Wednesday, June 15th, 2022 City of Fayetteville Nominating Committee meeting. And we have present myself, Sarah Bunch from Ward 3, Sonia Harvey from Ward 1. I always want to say 2, Ward 1, Teresa Turk from Ward 4, and I believe we will be joined by Mark Kenyon from Ward 2 in just a moment. So do you guys want to go ahead and start? Yeah, okay. I'm going to get Jennifer here. Let's see if I can get how this works.
Hey,
Okay.
Sarah, we got it
Yes.
fixed. So we'll be able to put them in the waiting room.
Okay. All right. So let's see, Jennifer Cole. Jennifer, are you there?
Hi.
Hi, Jennifer. We were having a little problem there, so.
Oh, it's okay. It's
Okay.
the way
Okay,
it is.
so Jennifer, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing just fine, or at least I am. So you're applying for the Animal Services Board,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? So what, that's not a board that meets really frequently. I believe it's every quarter. I'm on that board and I cannot remember when it meets because they just
Mhm.
send me the notice. So, but I think it's every quarter. Do you think that would be, have you looked at the register of when the meetings are?
I have. My understanding is they meet the first Monday of the second month per quarter. So
It's
my
something
deductions
odd
are
like that.
correct. The next meeting is August 1st at 6.
It's an unusual, it's not like, it's like the second Tuesday of the third month with a half moon, or something like that.
Oh, right.
Um, so why did you decide that you wanted to serve on the Animal Services Board?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think I'm probably supposed to say something very altruistic here, but like my love for animals and my passion for service. And that is true at a baseline, but when I think on it, realistically, I feel like my reasons are a little more self-serving in that I like to stay very engaged with my community. I feel like this is going to be a very structured way to do that. I'm a natural lifelong learner, and so I really look forward to what all I would actually learn from serving on the committee. I've worked with other animal welfare services, but this was going to teach me a lot more about how a city actually works and how a city runs. And so I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. And then just the natural things of serving on a council, like, opening a new network of contacts, and I think it's going to give me certainly a more informed perspective on a lot of different things.
Okay. Well, on the Animal Services Board, our meetings are usually fairly short. We talk about any fundraisers or any special events that are going on, like they have, where if they have an unusually large number of dogs or puppies, they will, someone will match, will cover the donation, will donate and cover the cost of adoption. Or they'll have, an event where they have senior animals that are not just puppies, but they're grown, or black cats or black dogs or something like that. And so we talk about the things that the number of animals that come into the shelter and the number of animals that get placed out, the number that have to be euthanized, which is a really small number. And it usually has to do with, injury, illness, or something like, they're just socially not adoptable. And that's usually with dogs, so. And then we talk about the deer population too, was one of the things that we discussed quite a bit. So what are the other boards or committees in that you have served on?
Well, this would be my first board with the city of Fayetteville, but for the past 4 years, I've been on the executive board at the Humane Society of the Ozarks. So our meetings are largely what you just described, except no taxpayer input. on that one. We're entirely nonprofit. And we don't talk about the deer. So I do look forward to learning about the natural population and challenges therein. But no, that sounds all very familiar to me based on what I'm doing up this other board.
Okay. All right. Teresa, Sonia, do you have any questions for Jennifer?
Just a quick question, Jennifer. Thank you for applying. And have you, it sounds like you're very familiar with these issues, but I'm wondering if you've seen any of the, watched any or read any of the notes from this committee's meetings in the past.
So that's a great question. So to prepare for this interview, one of the new things I learned is that all these meetings are recorded for public record, and I went and dug into the website and found them. And so I watched the past 2 meetings this year just to kind of get an idea of what they would actually be discussing. And yes, learned a lot about that already. I will tell you, I learned how you have to test an animal for rabies. You have to cut their heads off and send that out. That was fascinating. And just kind of the things that I guess are currently ongoing. I know we talked about some fundraising, and I learned more about some events that I didn't know were happening in the community. So that was a plus, more ways to engage there. But then also who sponsors them, you know, where there's a lot of animal welfare societies in the area, but sometimes it's like, well, is this one, this society, is this that board? So it was kind of interesting to learn what their current engagement activities are. So yes, I am familiar with the meeting structure, at least since they've transitioned to this virtual event.
Great, excellent, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thanks.
Sarah, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I muted myself because there's the guy's mowing right next to my window right now. And then he's using the weed eater too. So I think you'd be a great fit for this committee. I don't have any other questions for you. I like the fact that you've served on, you know, the Humane Society of the Ozarks, and you kind of understand some of the challenges that the city faces. One of the things that I will tell you that we have, you know, we're working on our budget for the city, and usually we start kind of, you know, the requests for different positions and stuff starts coming in. And you'll notice at our last meeting, we talked about possibly asking for more funds for the animal shelter, so there could be another officer, at least one other officer on duty, because sometimes there'll just be one officer for the entire city at any point in time. So if it's a holiday in particular, it could be kind of, you know, animals get out and things like that. So that might be something we need to be looking into. So anyway, but Jennifer, I don't have any other questions for you. I appreciate you taking time to meet with us and to, you know, volunteer for this committee.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you. You have a good evening.
All right. Thanks, you too. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Sarah
Yes.
and Teresa. Sorry to interrupt, but I did receive we received a new 22 megabyte file just now from the city clerk, and it has some more attachments to it from some of the people that put attachments. So I don't know how many were missing attachments, but just so you know, there is a new file there in the latest email.
I did not know that. So, but thank you for sharing that with us. Like, we have time to look at it now. So
right,
anyway.
right. Maybe if we want to pull it up in case, you know, while we look at them, but or once we make decisions. But I just wanted to let you know that the first file wasn't there completely there. So
okay, all right. Richard Roberts, I see that you've joined us right on time.
I try to be on time.
Yes, thank you. So Richard, you are, I'm here with Sonia Harvey from Ward 1, Teresa Turk from Ward 4, and Mark Kenyon from Ward 2, and I'm Sarah Bunch from Ward 3. So you are applying for the Construction Board of Appeals, is that correct?
That's correct.
So why don't you just give us a little bit of rundown on what you think your qualifications are for this board, and tell us why you decided you wanted to apply for this.
All right, I got the notice from the Fayetteville Chamber that you're looking for committee members, and I looked at all the different committees, and it appeared to be one that I was best suited for. I have training and experience as a mediator for a small claims court in the city of Green Bay. I've been self-employed for, well, since forever almost. And I've also been involved with SCORE as a certified mentor for business owners. And I have a construction background in the trades for probably about 20 years in the Chicago metropolitan area, primarily in multi-dwelling buildings, hospitals, nursing homes, schools. So it just, from what I could tell from the description of what you're looking for, it seemed that I met most of the criteria.
Okay. Great. So have you, can someone pull up when this, you may know this, Richard, but I'm not sure when this committee meets. I think it's only occasionally when there is.
It's as needed is the way
As
that
needed.
it was done.
Okay.
So, and I have an extremely flexible schedule. So
Okay, that's the other thing I was going to ask, because if you have a flexible schedule, then an as needed meeting might not, hamper your daily life or work or anything.
I have no problem with that.
Okay. Okay, good. Does anybody have any other questions for Richard?
Sounds like good experience for the committee.
That does, yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you for applying.
Yeah, it sounds like you're well suited. The main thing is that we do have, they give you a little bit of notice for the meeting. I'm not sure. It's usually not, it's not like 2 weeks, but it might be 3 or 4 days or something like that.
If I
Maybe a
have at
week.
least a day's notice, 90% of the time, I have no problem with that.
Okay. Yeah, they might go up to a week or so, but it just kind of just depends on when they have
Right.
something come in that they need to review. But I don't see any conflict there with that based on what you've told us. Then that is one of the challenges with a group that doesn't meet very frequently, is that you don't have a quorum when you do need the group to meet.
Well,
So it's
exactly.
always good to
So,
know when somebody can,
I won't be a problem for that.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions for you, Richard. Do you have any questions for us before we close?
No, it's infrequent enough, and for a short enough period of time. It's not like I'm committing for the rest of my life. So I'm willing to give it a try and make sure that I can contribute. And as long as I feel I'm contributing, I would enjoy doing it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I think you'd probably be a good fit for this committee. I
Okay.
appreciate your time and, your application and everything. We'll take a slate of nominees to the city council next week,
Okay.
next Tuesday, and you can either watch the meeting. It'll be the first thing we cover at 5:30, or you can call the clerk's office on Wednesday, the
Okay.
next day, and find out if you were selected.
Okay, that works fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Well, looks like we're waiting on, we're Sarah Grace for the Environmental Action Committee.
You know, while we're on and we have a minute, it was hard for me to get the files because I had to get them off the server at work when I was at work. And they're so large that our company wouldn't let me get them. So
Oh,
in the future, if we could have them maybe spliced up a little bit, it would certainly be helpful. And I can't get them right now from my phone. I'm trying.
Well, I think we've got a new person. What happened to Lisa? Is she still around or?
She went,
hey,
she went
Jack,
to,
can we stop recording for just a moment here? Because we're just chatting.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you, Sarah. Yeah.
Recording
And
stopped.
Lisa,
Recording in
Sarah?
progress.
Are you with us?
Is being recorded.
Thank you. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Happy to be here. How's everybody else?
Okay. Well, great, great. I'm Sarah Bunch from Ward 3. We have with us Sonia Harvey from Ward 1, Teresa Turk, Ward 2, and Mark Kenyon Teresa Turk from Ward 4, and Mark Kenyon from Ward 2. I was counting 1, 2, 3.
right.
Got those backwards. So, Sarah, you are applying for the Environmental Action Committee, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you decided to apply for this committee and what you think, any specific qualifications that you have that would be well suited for that committee?
Absolutely. I'll start off. I've been a citizen of Fayetteville for 8 going on 9 years and have just loved being a part of the community. And I follow the Fayetteville Flyer, and for the past few years have noticed advertisements about, hey, Fayetteville needs people to serve on these committees. And I've always thought about it in the back of my head, but never knew if the time was right. And I'm feeling like the time and the position is right. So wanted to go ahead and put my hat in the ring. And my unique qualifications and interest for the Environmental Action Committee come from my passion for promoting sustainability more broadly. So I just finished my PhD at the University of Arkansas actually a year ago, and I studied marketing, which is going to sound kind of like, how does that relate to environmentalism? But I actually did that in order to understand not how to sell stuff, but how to really promote sustainable lifestyles, which I'm a big advocate of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and they talk about the best way to really, this sustainability issue and climate change is a global issue, but it has to be tackled on the local level. The best way that they recommend doing that is to promote sustainable lifestyles. And I think that the best way to do that is to promote that at the local community, city level. So that's an idea that I've been working on and wrestling with for the past 5 years and making small strides. I'm currently writing a book. I've done research in that area about how to promote sustainable lifestyles. But I want to put, some ideas into action. And like I said, I've loved living in Fayetteville for the past few years. I'm raising a family here. And so I want to be involved. I think the time is right for me personally. And I also know a lot about marketing and how to make ideas feel not like a sacrifice, right? So when you engage in environmentalism, make it feel fun and encourage people to adopt that just as a natural part of their life. And so that's what I'm really passionate about. And that's what I would like to try to bring to this particular board or committee, sorry.
So Sarah, this is Teresa. I'm the sort of the city council liaison on the EAC. And so can you give us an example of some of your ideas? I mean, I love the aspect that you're in marketing and promotion, because there is certainly an element to sustainability where we've got to encourage, incentivize, educate people to make these lifestyle changes. But would just love to hear some of your ideas that if you're selected, that you might want to put in place and approach the committee about.
Thank you for asking, because I am still wrestling through some of those as well. I think that education and policy are both really important. So it's kind of this mix of, can you influence individual behavior and make it part of someone's lifestyle and make it easy for them to adopt more sustainable choices. But also I know part of the board's charge is to, put forth policy recommendations that make sense as well. And so one of my specific ideas is promoting the idea of slowness, which I don't know if that makes sense, but similar to the slow streets experiment that's been going on in the city, or like the slow roll bike ride, just this idea of slowing down. We live in a really fast-paced society and world, and that's not always bad. But when you slow down, you're able to connect with your local community more. You're able to make some of those choices. You're able to think about like the impact of, purchase A versus purchase B. And so I like the idea of kind of extending that, like some of those like slow streets projects, and extending that and talking about that more with the people of Fayetteville, and promoting that, even if it's at, First Thursday events, and just talking about, again, integrating sustainability and environmentalism into like a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I think education is one piece. And then from a policy perspective, I know a little bit about like nudge theory and behavioral economics. And I think that that might be an interesting perspective to bring as we think about different policy recommendations and which things can really actually change behavior in the direction that you want.
Yeah, and also the slow food movement. There's a lot of things that we could do to incorporate the slow idea. Yeah.
So that's a very specific idea, but that's kind of the platform that I'm running on. I'm actually writing a book about that right now.
Terrific. Well, those are some great ideas. Excellent. Well, the EAC, it meets the third Monday of every month, and we're pretty compared to some of the other committees, we almost always meet. This month, we're actually going to skip it, but that's a rare event. This is the first time I think we've skipped a meeting since I've been on it in 3 years. So we do. So would that be a problem for you, that time period? I think we start at 5:30, and oftentimes we'll go to 7, sometimes 7:30. So sometimes we really get on a roll and we have lots of things to discuss. And we really want people to engage and participate and be very active. And sometimes I think maybe the number of people that are on there is a little intimidating, because we don't get that kind of interactive exchange that I hope that we will construct or have a little bit more of in the future.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about the committee?
Yeah, from looking at the website, it looks like there's about 8 citizens at large and then a few council members. How many people total serve on the committee?
Well, oftentimes we have 3 or 4 city staff that are there, depending on the topic. There's just one city council member, myself, and then we have an industry person on there, and then there's several other citizens at large. So it can be a pretty large group at times. And we talk, we've talked all about tree canopy, carbon sequestration. We talked about homelessness last time at our meeting. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at some of our past meetings. So, the environment touches so many different elements or subjects that we look at within the city. So we have a lot of diverse topics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really exciting to me. I had a chance to listen to last month's May meeting and thought it was interesting that, you looked at how you can promote like free city pickup for part of it, and then looking at cleaning up the area outside of Seven Hills. And so I start to understand the vastness of things that the committee may touch.
And you can see the nudge there with the free green pickup, just if we could move people in that direction a little bit more than burning. So, yeah. I don't have any more questions. Any other committee members?
I don't have any. I'd just like to say thank you so much for applying, and we will take a slate of nominees to the city council next Tuesday, and it will be the first thing we cover at our meeting at 5:30. You can watch the meeting, or you can call the clerk's office the next day to find out if you were selected. Do you have any more questions for us?
Not at this time. Thank you all so much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much for your application, and we look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So
Okay.
I sent you that, I'm sorry, I sent you that big file of 22 megabytes, but that's the file that's got everybody in there for tonight.
Yeah, and I'm looking through this and, oh shit. I just hit it and it all just went back to page 1. It does not look like they're in order either. Because the next application we have is for Nicole Harding. Or on this thing.
Well, you
Mi-
mean on
Mine seem to be in order. Are yours
Yeah.
in order? Mine
Mine are in order.
yeah, mine are in
Okay.
order.
This is page 8 of 56. So when I scroll down through this, it has the
I see what you're saying.
Teresa,
yeah,
I don't
when
see
I
a big file that you sent.
when I get down into the actual applications, Jennifer was in there, Robert was there, and then Sarah was there, and then the next one is Nicole Harding. And that's not the next person on our list.
You're right. They're out of order. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Morgan.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
So let me just, if you don't mind, give us just a second here. I'm going to try and find your app. We are working with new people that put our packet together, and I just want to make sure I have your application in front of me.
Hey, Mark, I sent that to you. Maybe the file size is too large for you to receive it, but I definitely sent it.
Okay, I have it. I just can't get it open, but using AOL isn't exactly high tech, you know. But I think that I can get it in a minute if I just am patient.
Well, has anybody found this application and can direct me to what page out of 56 that it's on? Anyway.
Not yet. I'm getting there.
Okay. Well, Morgan, you are applying for the Fayetteville Arts Council, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Sorry about that, that delay.
No, you're fine. No worries at all.
And
Page 38.
okay, I only made it to 35. Gosh, should have tried harder. 38. Got you here. Got you now, Morgan. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
So tell us a little bit about your why you've chosen to apply for this committee.
Okay, great. Well, I am a long-term Fayetteville resident. I lived here for 26 years now. So grew up, went to elementary school here all the way through high school, and then actually attended the U of A as well. So went to Fayetteville High, just very close to the area, chose to stay around here. I work at JB Hunt now, so very local. I think the biggest thing is the reason I wanted to apply was, one, it was the first I had heard about it, so I was very excited to hear about it. Two, I am just so grateful for the amazing upbringing I had that valued experiences in the arts. So whether it was theater, or whether it was going to, Nadine studios, or taking art classes, that was just something that really enriched my life and made me feel like I was a part of the community. And and I got to do that with my family, and it taught me other perspectives. And so really that's the main reason, is that I was so invested in by this community, and was given so many opportunities to experience things that were outside of my little Arkansas worldview through art. So I was big into theater in school, big into just anything creative, anything I could get my hands on. And now I'm actually on kind of a different creative role, which is I get to do marketing now. So turned it into a little bit of a, I can, pay my bills. So that's the main reason, is just I've been invested in by this community and would love to be a part of that.
Hey, Morgan. This is Sonia, and I'm the council member assigned to the committee. Thank you for applying and for being a trooper to be staying here in Fayetteville. We always talk about having talent to be raised here in Fayetteville, but then also stay and want to continue and contribute in the community. So that's awesome. Do you have any specific thoughts or ideas as we look at the arts corridor kind of coming online? What you think we need to be working on? Those are kind of the topics of the main topic of the Art Council right now. What do we need to really be thinking about in terms of that arts corridor about to really be launched?
Yeah, well, that's great idea or great question. Really, the main thing is I've been really encouraged by kind of the diversity of the art types, and then also the people creating the art. I think maintaining the focus on that, and also just kind of getting the word out a little bit better. I think that's kind of the biggest struggle I would say probably for anyone wanting to accomplish anything, is just getting the word out. And so I think that could be utilizing different local businesses and kind of just creating buzz around all of the options we do have and all of the art we do have, but then also just really focusing on the just varied individuals that we have here and showcasing kind of their stories through art. And I've been super impressed by kind of the diversification of the artwork and the artists we've been focusing on, whether it's murals or whether it's different shows coming through town and stuff like that. I feel like that's been a really huge focus, and I feel like Fayetteville does value different perspectives. But I think just continuing that, and then also just getting the message out.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think that those are really, really important things. And I think marketing is a really key thing. We actually haven't really talked a ton about it. We talk about making sure we have gigs and things and opportunities for artists, economic opportunities. Wanted to just double check, as the third Wednesday of each month good for you? We do meet every month at 6 on the dot, and usually it's about an hour and a half meeting. Is that okay for your schedule?
That's no problem at all.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. I don't have any further questions. Teresa or Sarah, do you have any questions?
So Morgan, have you attended any of the meetings or watched any of the meetings?
I have not been able to. No, I have not. Actually, I saw the opening for committee nominations on Fayetteville Flyer, and that was really the first time, I'm sad to say, I had heard about the Arts Council, and so I haven't been able to attend any of the meetings, but I was actually a journalism student, so I've been able to attend meetings, just not specifically the Arts Council meeting.
Okay, all right. All righty. Anyone else have any other questions for Morgan? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Morgan. You've given us quite a lot to think about, and I love your ideas on the marketing aspect of promoting the arts. We always talk about promoting the arts, but it really gets down to nuts and bolts marketing.
Absolutely.
And it's I really appreciate that perspective there. So what we'll do is we'll discuss tomorrow, probably tomorrow, who we're going to choose, and we'll take a slate of nominees to the City Council on Tuesday.
Okay.
And this is a committee that has quite a few people applying for just one or two positions. And so it's very challenging sometimes to get on this committee. So if you aren't chosen this time, please apply again or apply for other committees. Please still continue to participate.
Yes. Well, I'm excited that you guys have had a lot of applicants. That's wonderful.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we take a slate of nominees to the City Council on Tuesday. You can either watch the meeting. It will be one of the first things we cover.
Okay.
Like our meeting starts at 5:30, or you can call the clerk's office on Wednesday to find out if you were selected.
Okay, wonderful. That sounds good. Okay, thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too.
Hey, Mark, I sent you that that new interview schedule just for today. Hope you got that one. It's smaller size. You're muted, but okay.
Okay, I'm going to go on to, hello, Chloe. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are y'all?
Doing just fine. Doing just fine there. I've seen quite a bit about you lately. You've been up to all kinds of things, haven't you?
Thank you. I think it was just kind of a lot of those things came out at the same time for some reason, but yeah.
Okay, well, you are applying for the Fayetteville Arts Council, and let's just start the easy. Just tell us a little bit about why you chose to apply for this, and kind of give us a rundown on what you think your qualifications are.
Yeah. So I had mostly been wanting to apply for a little while just because of how my programs that I manage with Experience Fayetteville have changed with the art galleries moving off of the square and some of the challenges that we've experienced and they've experienced since then, and trying to keep those programs linked. As well as just, I end up consulting and advising a lot of my friends as they try to put themselves out there. And what I notice a lot of the time with that is there's a kind of sense of like gatekeeping or a barrier there that they don't feel that they are maybe embraced or capable of acquiring like professional opportunities with their art. And I've noticed that in the past couple of years, I have been successful in helping my friends get off the ground with that, just with one opportunity here and there, and it leads to this domino effect. So I'd like to just be able to do that in another capacity, as the projects that we have are limited annually. And then also just some other ideas that I'd like to see the Arts Council take on a regular basis.
So would you elaborate a little bit on some of those ideas that you would like to see the Arts Council take on a regular basis?
Yeah. Well, I've been really excited that we have the murals as this latest project of the Arts Council. It had been a while since the Arts Council commissioned a piece itself. I know there's been the donation process for a while, but I could be ignorant to some donations, but I hadn't seen many in the 7 years that I've lived in Fayetteville. I'm also really appreciative of Joelle's work, inventorying all the public art in Fayetteville, and I think that's a great resource that we can continue to build upon. But with that, I think I would love for the Arts Council to advocate for more regular funding from City Council to have regular projects, whether that be minor, small installations, just so that these artists have the opportunity to get their face and their name and their work out there, because it does pay off in dividends. And then whether I was in this seat or not, I think I would feel the same. I really do think the A&P should have an ex officio seat on the council just to further stabilize the workload that it requires. Just, I do think it's incredibly relevant to the promotion and the events side of art and cultural experiences. So those are a few of the things.
Okay.
Hey, Chloe. This is Sonia. How are you?
Well, how are you? I loved your setup.
Good. Thank you. I'm glad you were able to catch that. I in my mind I thought, okay, I'm only playing for myself, so I won't get overly nervous. But I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really like your idea of that ex officio seat for the A&P. I think that's a very great recommendation. That makes absolute sense, especially for communication. So that's something we can probably discuss at the meeting and see what they say. And I know we enjoyed having you recently come and talk to us and share about the First Thursdays. So we know about your passion for artists and helping rising artists, and we really appreciate that. And I know you already probably know, since you attended 6 o'clock Wednesdays, the third Wednesday of each month is good for you, right?
Yes.
Great. And then the specific one you were applying for, because we have 5 positions that are open right now. So since until we have the potentially an ex officio, you've applied as, let me look and see, what is it? You're one citizen at large. Is that the citizen? Okay.
Yes.
Which you would work well in that spot anyways as well. So yeah, I don't really, I mean, you've given us a lot of good information. Do you have any other questions or thoughts about the art council at this moment? I love your ideas.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see how the Arts Council can be involved with the Ramble and the Faye Jones Woods. I've through this role, I've put together a few program designs for that, but just with that first started before it was finalized that there was going to be the arts and culture director position. And just as that's continued and construction's delayed, I would just love to help form what the long-term plan for that is going to be, both the internal programming and managing the external requests that come in to host that there. And so I'm excited and hope to see that get off the ground this year if possible. I know we had been hoping for like an early spring launch, and then that might be fall now. But I think that's something that I'm like most eager about the Arts Council being involved with. And I'd love to see if in that capacity they could kind of help with some of that workload that's going to be coming very soon.
Right. Yes, exactly. And then one more thing I want to throw at you, because that's all in our topics, everything. We're talking about a cultural master plan as well. So the director coming online soon, because I think all the interviews are completed, I think, for that director position. And so now really the first step is like, okay, well, now we can get our person, and then we want them to kind of help us set a compass for the direction we want to go. So that's where we're kind of figuring out what are those things that need to happen. So exactly what you said. So I think you'd be a great fit, and I really appreciate you applying. I don't have anything else, Teresa or Sarah.
I have one more question here. So you said that you thought the A&P should have a seat on this committee. So did you mean Experience Fayetteville or the A&P committee, or what was that exactly?
Yeah, I think that many different positions within the A&P umbrella would be very helpful to the council. I do think that for the events side of things and kind of the installation side of things, that the community engagement manager seat makes some sense, but that could change as the organization evolves. So I think just having it generally to the A&P would probably be most helpful.
A&P umbrella.
But yeah, it would most likely be someone from Experience Fayetteville, possibly the town center. We do manage a lot of events here as well, and I office out of the town center. I technically work for both.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. Do you have any questions for us before we close?
Ooh. Yeah, I guess, what do y'all think are the biggest challenges like facing the council and its growth in terms of responsibility, but also in competition, if I would call it competition, in comparison to the other Northwest Arkansas sister cities?
I don't think we have to compete. We're Fayetteville. We're not anyone else.
I agree.
I think that's our challenge, is keeping Fayetteville and distinct and not homogenized. So
I agree. I mean, that's my biggest thing, is there's a lot of areas in programming that gets very maybe oversaturated, and like you'll see trends rise and fall in a couple of years. And I think that's something that we could help advise on. Right now, markets are huge. Too many markets, I would say, but that's just my opinion. But also, when you look to the region, you will see a lot of emulation, and I don't think Fayetteville needs to do that. I do not think that our art installations need to be highbrow or similar to any other larger city in America. I think we have really excellent talent here. I actually got a peek at the exchange fund data, and the majority, I believe, in the 40% range of the awardees are from Fayetteville. So even those eyes can recognize that the cool creative talent is here. So I just want to make that shine a little bit more.
I think, well, you know, I feel like this, the Arts Council is really starting to gel. A few years back, it was not, it was kind of broken in a way, and it just didn't seem to function very well. And I think now they're gelling together, and they're really trying to help craft policy for the city and make some real effective changes. And so I would like to see the council, I just like to see them be more active with the possibly grants, or possibly, anything that would help fund artists or make people more aware of the artistic community that we do have in our city. And, through that also, improve that creative economy, hopefully, that we always talk about. So.
Yeah. No, I was really excited that it was recommended that the Arts Council weigh in on the Theater Squared proposition. I think that was just very much needed and appropriate for that time. So thank you for that. Okay. It's been really nice to see the council come out of that kind of mode of stagnation for a little bit. Really, in this past 2 years, it's been really awesome.
Thank you. Well, I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else have anything else? Well, Chloe, we're going to take a slate of nominees to the City Council on Tuesday, and it'll be the first thing we covered. Our meeting at 5:30. You can watch the meeting, or you can call the clerk's office on Wednesday to see if you were selected.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for applying.
Thank you. Y'all have a great rest of your interviews. I know you'll have probably a long list.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Have a great night.
Okay, Laura, let me find Laura Hightower in here. Let me just, thankfully Laura is the next application here.
Sorry.
So, hello,
sorry,
Laura, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm sorry I popped in before.
No, that's okay. We're just having a little, I'm having a little trouble keeping up with, I've got everybody's application on my phone here.
Sure.
So that's why I'm looking, blowing it up and all that stuff there. So you are applying to be on the Fayetteville Arts Council.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why you're applying for that position, and
sure. I've been a part of the arts environment here in Fayetteville for quite some time. I went to school here, studied theater, and graduated from the university, and was a Fayetteville resident from '87 to '94, and then moved to Chicago for 17 years to work in the theater there, and came back when my kids were born. And I've lived here it'll be 9 years in October. On round 2 in Fayetteville. I spent the last 5.5 years writing for the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette on the arts and culture features beat, which gave me a really well-rounded view of what's going on in the arts and culture world here in Northwest Arkansas. I also wrote for the profile section, so I met and spoke with a lot of movers and shakers in Fayetteville, people that are really making a huge difference and huge impact on the community. And now I work for Theater Squared in the marketing department. And I feel real lucky. I've watched them, start over a kitchen table and grow to what they are today. So to be a part of that trajectory now is really exciting for me. I just feel really strongly, I feel really grateful that I am part of a community that values art as much as this community does, specifically Fayetteville, even though the whole region has really gotten into the act since I moved back. And I admire what you do, and I admire your contribution to the community, and I would love to be a part of it and to help in any way I can.
Okay, thank you.
Laura, I believe this is the second time you've applied, right? At least the second time?
No, I've never applied before.
Have you not? Okay.
No,
I had another, I think we had another Theater Squared person apply last time.
I was sure
And
she
I was
had
thinking it
applied
was you.
before also.
no, this is the
Yeah.
first, I've never had the nerve to do it before, but I
You
saw it.
know,
time and
I'll bet it's because your name just was so familiar that,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Maybe.
that's probably what it was.
I was gonna
Well,
say,
we're-
I read many of your articles, Laura, so I was like, it's like, where is that name from? And when you said you did the profile section, I was like, that's it, bingo.
That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Very,
well,
very
thank you.
nicely done.
Well, thank you. And thanks to y'all for supporting the paper. That's really important. So thank
I
you.
miss the paper more than anything in the world. It's
I
ruined my
know.
morning.
I know it's not the same. I know.
No. Anyway, it shows my age. I'm
So
trying to get
Sonia,
with it.
Sonia, I believe you had a question there.
Yeah, so anyways, I know that so you're applying for the working artist part. Let's see, because we have several. We have 5 openings. Do you want to, can you share a little bit more on that? Let's see.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I applied for the working artist one, it might have been an accident. I thought I applied for the at large, but I
Okay.
did note when I was doing a little bit of research that there's not a ton of representation from the performing arts, a lot of visual artists on your panel. And I'm, as a matter of fact, I have a 6:30 call tonight with Smokehouse Players. I'm participating in their play readings, their new play festival. So I do still perform. I am still an actor, and I do still do projects from here to there. Not as many as I used to, because I have 2 11-year-olds, and so it takes, and a full-time job, so it takes a little bit out of me to do it. But I would love to represent that area of arts on the panel.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm glad we clarified that. It sounds like to me you could fit into either position since you're still working and practicing. I mean, I think that fits very well. I don't, just as a quick question, I am asking this of everyone, but as we bring the ramble on, what do you think is the big task that the Fayetteville Arts Council needs to be thinking about? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think it's something that I'm pretty sure all of the entire Arts Council and the City Council are already thinking about, and that is affordable studio space and affordable living spaces for artists. A lot of my interviews that I did with artists over the 5 years talked about how frustrating it was for them to be in an area that was lauded so much for the arts environment, for the big museums and the big names that we get in here, and yet they're struggling so hard to make a living and to get their work out to the world. And as the cost of living and the cost of housing and the cost of studio spaces just continues to go up, I know that early on in the process, there was some talk of some affordable studio spaces, affordable galleries for working artists, and I hope that is something that will be encouraged and advised upon. I think
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah,
I think that's the biggest issue, I think, in the arts community today. I don't want to always be bringing in artists to this environment. I want our artists to be able to work and live here and stay here as well.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, we have one more thing, and then I want to make sure let anybody else ask any questions. But 6 p.m. on the 3rd Wednesdays of each month are okay with you, because we do meet regularly. That
Yes.
works for you? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. And then yeah, I'll let anybody else ask questions and stop taking the space.
I'm good.
Teresa, did you have any questions? Teresa always has a good question about if you've attended meetings.
Well, that was going to be my question.
I have not. No, I sure have not.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks
Sure.
for applying.
Oh, sure. Yes. Thanks for the interview.
So before we close here, I'll just tell you we take a slate of nominees to the City Council next week. We'll vote on them. It'll be one of the first things we cover in our meeting. and you can watch the meeting, city council meeting, or you can call the clerk's office the next day. And before we close here, I have a question about one place I have your name. It is misspelled with a U in it. And another place it's Lara. How do you pronounce it?
Laura.
Laura. Okay. I just
Yes.
want to make sure. I had a friend named Lara. So
I know there's yes, it's been one of those things. I really will answer to whatever way it's pronounced,
yeah.
because it's been 53 years of hearing it pronounced so many different ways. I'm fine with all of them.
Yeah, I know. I get called Susan and Sandy and all sorts of things a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any other questions for you. And do you have any questions for us before we close?
I don't think so. No. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys about this.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your application and your interest in this committee.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
You have
Give
a
my
good evening.
regards to the Smokehouse Players. I'm so pleased that they're here, and Terry Vaughn is just, I mean, it's great. Now, see, there's artists, community artists.
Yes,
It's beautiful.
absolutely. She is a force of nature, and they are really making things happen down there.
I think so too. Give
Yeah.
them my regards. I've been
will
busy.
tell
I
them.
hadn't been able to drop by.
Sure. Yes, I will tell them that I saw you
Thank
and
you.
that you said hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So has anyone found, can quickly tell me what page I'm looking for?
So Sarah, we got sent another file this evening with just the interviews in the correct order for Wednesday. And so you might want to check that out.
I'm looking at the thing that you sent me at 5:21.
Courtney reordered the file for us.
Okay.
So I'm looking at that one now.
What time did that come in? There's
that-
so many files.
That came in at 5:35 from her. City clerk, actually not from Courtney, from city clerk.
5:35.
Correct. And it's got Wednesday interviews. It's a PDF file.
Interview schedule. Okay.
I've got so much in.
Because at 5:35 we were already meeting.
Right.
There it is.
I have a
Okay, there
feeling
it is.
that.
Okay. That makes good sense. Okay, Sarah Grace. All right. All right, Morgan.
That's right.
No. Chloe. Laura. All right, so this is, yeah. I was like, oh my God, I can't find okay. All right, our next applicant is Grant. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Hi, Grant. Is your last name Scholl?
Skull.
Skoll. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, Grant. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why you are applying to be on the Arts Council?
Sure. So I moved to
Oh, excuse me. You're for the Walton Arts Council.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Correct. We just interviewed Fayetteville Arts Council.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah. Make clear about that. This is the WAC.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
No worries. So I'm an Arkansas native. I grew up in Central Arkansas on a rural cow farm, and moved to kind of lived all over the world in my years out of college. Landed here in Northwest Arkansas about 13 or 14 months ago. I live in downtown and have quickly grown to love the city of Fayetteville. Quickly learned that there's so much that the city does and offers that its people. And as someone who grew up on a rural cow farm in Central Arkansas, I did not have access to a lot of the wonderful things that our city does for people. And so I have just been looking for ways to get involved, looking for ways to get involved with the city. And whenever I saw that they were looking for committee appointments, I definitely wanted to be considered for that. The arts is something that is, personal to me. I'm a photographer by profession. And so I've done it professionally for about 10 years or so. Even when I was in college, it was a way that I paid a lot of my housing bills. And so being connected to the arts in some way is something that's very important to me. I've lived overseas, I've lived in New York. Having access to quality art and theater, I think, is very important, especially in places that are considered flyover country. I think it's very wonderful what the city does, what organizations within Northwest Arkansas do, and specifically the Walton Arts Center, what they do to bring culture from around the world to my front door.
So Grant, how familiar are you with, you live in downtown, how familiar are you with the arts corridor called the Ramble that the city is currently working on?
Yes, I actually went on a tour of it with the city. I live just on South Street, so it will, directly affect my life. I live just 2 blocks from the corner of South and West, which is right there at the lower Ramble portion. And so it's something that I think is really incredible. When I moved here, I didn't know that was happening, and I just stumbled upon finding this wonderful apartment so super close to all of this beautiful public works that are going in, which is another thing that I find very endearing, and something that I love about the city of Fayetteville is that it pours into its people and pours into the community. I grew up in, like I said, on a farm outside of a small town, and we just did not have the infrastructure, the funding for this type of public work. And so being able to have access to it for myself, just personally as a downtown resident, is something that I take pride in. And my friends are getting very annoyed with me probably because I talk about it all the time, about all the cool things that are happening, all of the amazing plans that are in the works for downtown with the Ramble, the Arts Corridor, the public plaza, all the construction that's going to be happening. I think it's just a really, really amazing thing. And as somebody who I'm wandering around downtown all the time, I'm super excited to see it come in and be a part of, the community here as it continues to develop.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Grant, hey, it's Sonia here. It looks like the meeting meets at 4 o'clock every quarter. It's so it's in the day. Is that an issue in terms
No.
of your schedule?
Mm-mm.
I don't know the days, but it just says quarterly.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has information about when quarterly, but I don't. I'm just looking at the website.
Sure.
So, well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you live in the Ramble too, by the way.
Yeah.
That's helpful for a lot of things as we see it kind of open up slowly, especially the Faye Jones Woods. I think that's almost
Right.
done there.
I
it's
do
gonna
have
be
a question
busy area.
too. Whenever
Yeah,
we
go
get
ahead.
the
Go for it.
you live very near to Prairie Street Live, which I think has its place. That you saw how I voted and how I supported it. I mean, you really live right there.
Mm-hmm.
Does it enhance your quality of life?
Prairie Street Live.
Uh-huh.
I think it does. I've been to events there. I can see how it goes both ways. It's a music venue in a residential area. But I do enjoy having it. I feel like I personally am far enough away from it where it doesn't affect my life. So I understand that other people who might live there on that street might have a different opinion, but I do enjoy it.
So you're at the corner of South Street and West Street?
No, I'm at the corner of South and Church. So I'm about 2 blocks
Oh,
away.
you're on the other side. I was way off. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
So
worries.
Grant, I have a question for you.
Okay.
You've lived in Italy and New York City. So you've probably seen some of the plans that we have for the Ramble. What additional things would you recommend or suggest that would enhance Fayetteville even more?
I am just first of all, just blown away that we're getting like public space. As somebody who lived in Italy, you know, walking around in the piazzas, that is a huge part of the culture, and having that third space, right, where we have our home, we have our work, we have our third place that we go to. And in American society, we've kind of lost that. I'm super excited to have that. I think if we can incorporate, I know that there are plans to incorporate art, but more art, I think, or rotating art. I think art installations of visiting artists from around, you know, the state, around the region, around the world, if we can, I think would be really amazing to continue that, I guess, attitude of bringing things to where we live. And just because we live in Arkansas doesn't mean that we don't deserve access to beautiful things and to public art. I'm a huge advocate for public art. I think maybe it's probably because I have directly benefited from it in my life. And I've also lived without it, you know, growing up in a small town where we didn't have any. You know, the only public art was the Coca-Cola mural that was painted on in 1926 on the side of the cafe. Like, that was it. And so other things, you know, I think making it feel as welcoming and inclusive of all people, regardless of, you know, making it accessible, you know, for people with disabilities, people with that don't necessarily speak English, people of all racial backgrounds, of all ethnicities, I think would be something that I would definitely advocate for.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. Well, Grant, we will take a slate of nominees to the City Council on Tuesday night. It will be the first thing that we cover on our meeting. You can watch the meeting, or you can call the clerk's office on Wednesday to see if you were selected.
Okay.
Do you have any
Amazing.
questions for us before we close?
What do you guys do in the community? I'm just curious. You guys are on obviously the nominating committee, but
we're all on the City Council.
Oh, on the City Council. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
this is one of our subcommittees that we're all on too.
All on the subcommittees. Cool.
So
okay.
yeah, so we do. We're on City Council.
Okay.
I'm in my second term. Mark is in his third term. Teresa, your first term, and Sonia is first term also. Yeah.
I'm still getting my bearings on city government, and you know, all of that. This is the first time that I've really, you know, been in a city where city government actually does something. In my hometown, I grew up on the farm, so I didn't even vote for city council members or anything like that. So, and then when I moved to New York, you know, it was like New York politics. That's a whole other thing. So
yeah.
Well, I like to think that we have a very engaged community.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see young professionals as yourself getting involved. You've got a great vision and good energy, and you know, just stay in there and do it. That's what this city is known for. And I've always found that to set us apart. It is.
I appreciate
especially
that.
the downtown area. You're in my ward, by the way, Mark Kenyon. See that up there? Just you know. No, I am. That is in my ward, and well, no, that you're in Church Street. You're on the other side. You're in Sonia's ward. Sorry, never mind.
It's okay.
It says
You're
on
very
your
close.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
yeah, it says two.
Yeah.
We are needing to go on to our next interview right now.
No worries,
we just have a short time to spend with each person, but thank you so much for applying. And like I said, either watch the meeting or contact the clerk's office on Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's see here. Well, she was here. Let's see, take off hold. Donnell, are you there? Donnell?
I removed her hold, but it doesn't look like she's connected to audio, so I don't think we're
Hi,
gonna be able to
hi,
hear.
Donnell. Can you hear us? Donnell, you might need to connect your audio, possibly.
It's gonna be in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. There we go.
And you need to unmute yourself now. There should be a little red microphone. Yeah, you got it. Okay. All right. So Donnell, you are applying for the Fayetteville Arts Council, correct?
Correct.
Well, we're glad to have you here this evening and glad you took time to apply for that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about why you chose this committee to apply for?
Well, I mean, the arts are very dear to me. I spent almost 30 years teaching choir in high school. So I've had a firsthand seat at what an impact that can make on a person as a child, and then also seeing them grow up and continue to enjoy that and throughout the community as they grow older.
Okay. So, have you watched any of the Arts Council meetings or read the minutes or any kind of kept up with the topics that they're covering?
I have done a little research recently on what's going on with the council. I guess the most recent thing would be the murals that have been painted. Also, I saw where the recent budget included the position of an arts and cultural director, which I think is fantastic. Also, of course, the Ramble, would be a big thing going on right now with the Arts Council.
Yeah. Hi, Donnell. This is Sonia. I'm the council member on the committee. Thank you for your application and all your years of service teaching.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with those things, that's exactly right. Those are the top things that we're discussing. Do you have any thoughts about what you think that the Ramble, what we need to be prioritizing as we look to bring the Ramble online?
Well, I think that involving as many people from different entities within the community would be great. I would love to see more involvement combined with the public school system, the university, the Walton Arts Center, Theater Squared, artist programs within that we use all of that, because I feel like working together, we all have a common goal. We want Fayetteville to be the place to be, and we want Northwest Arkansas in general to be the place to be in Arkansas.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's absolutely great advice and great thoughts, and I think we need to definitely prioritize making sure we get everybody involved, all the stakeholders and that are on the street and then in the community. I love definitely getting the schools getting involved. Is 6 o'clock on the Wednesdays, third Wednesdays of the month, any issue for you to attend? I know your time is freed up more since you're not teaching as much, but is that an okay time for you?
It is. It's fine. Yes, I did look to see when meetings were. I wanted to make sure before I had the opportunity to commit that I was open. So
awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't have any further questions. Go for it.
Donnell,
Anybody else?
am I muted? No, I'm unmuted. Okay. I know you've lived here a while and you've been in the community with the schools. And over the years, the demeanor, the heritage of the arts in Fayetteville seems to be changing. Do you notice that? Is there some way we can celebrate the heritage of our local artists that have a legacy here? Or is it just water under the bridge and we move on?
I don't think it ever needs to be water under bridge. I think that you have to try to seek out opportunities to be able to tap into that heritage. I think when an opportunity presents itself, you have to grab it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other questions for Donnell? Let's see, Donnell, you live in Ward 3, don't you?
I do.
On Crestwood. You're just up the street from
I'm
me.
just 2 blocks over from you. Yes.
I was like, wait a minute. I don't think I've ever met you, but sometimes I walk up Crestwood, and so.
Well, I was, for so many years teaching and in the music, so much out of school regular time. I was never home, and then I had 2 kids of my own, so it's just been. Now I have some time.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. So you taught choir for almost 30 years, right?
I did. Mm-hmm.
So what were some of the challenges you faced as a teacher, and really kind of engaging children with the arts and with music in that way?
Well, one of the biggest challenges I found was sometimes students didn't quite know what they were getting into. Some people have the opinion that it's just choir, it's just singing, but it's a lot of learning and a lot of studying and a lot of practicing. So some people weren't quite ready for that, but a lot of them did great. I saw as a struggle, for a while there, with an effort to increase test scores and successful outcomes in other areas, there was talk for a while of possibly pulling students from some of their elective courses to be able to do extra study time on in other subjects. And one of my big thoughts on that was I had a lot of students that the only reason they came to school was so they could come to choir and sing, because that's how much they loved it. And so when you take something away from somebody that they really love, I'm not sure that's the best way to go about getting the results they were wanting.
Yeah,
that was a struggle.
Good point there. Do we have any other questions for Donnell? Okay. Donnell will take a slate of nominees to the City Council on Tuesday at 5:30, and it will be one of the first things that we cover at our meeting. Okay. And you can either watch the meeting to see if you were selected, or you can call the clerk's office on Wednesday to see if you were selected.
Okay, great.
Do you have any questions for us before we close?
Well, I just wanted to ask, what do you all consider maybe your biggest challenge that you've had in the last year?
Just any challenge?
Well, within the council,
okay.
The Arts Council.
Oh my. Mainly rezoning and growth, and how to plan the future of the city. It's incredible. You have to look at the infrastructure. You have to look at the nature of the sprawl. Mm-hmm. You have to look at the infill. My big thing is Fayetteville does have a rich heritage as a destination. And as we have infill, we have to be especially mindful of preserving that while we need the density for better services. So mm-hmm. I think the growth is the biggest challenge, in my opinion. There are other opinions, I'm sure.
Well, I agree with you, Mark. That's our biggest challenge. And then also with the constraints that we have environmentally, we have a lot of small streams, we have flash flooding. So we also have to take that into consideration about can we have a sustainable environment and economy here in Fayetteville. So all of those things, the growth is amazing here. So we have different problems in the rest of Arkansas.
Right. Yeah. In just the 20 years I've been here, it's changed dramatically. I just can't get over it.
In South Fayetteville, obviously, we have a lot of the homeless group because of the services that we offer. So that's the number one challenge, trying to figure out how to help people get to their next place. And so it's a big challenge in South Fayetteville for sure. And I'm sure you've seen it around as well. So, yes. But yeah, I know you're asking for challenge. You said the council. I didn't know if you meant the art council or the city council.
Well, I was arts council specifically. I was wondering.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
We're not all on the arts council, so
that's okay. That's okay.
I know Sonia. Sonia, do you still chair that, or you're the city
I'm on
council
the
member that's on
member.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not the chair. Jessica DeBari is that
Yes.
works with Mount Sequoia. But really the big thing right now for us is just preparing for the Ramble as it comes online and thinking about how to best help the director that's going to be hired soon, and cultural master plan to figure out what do we need to do first, second, and third, and just prioritize the enormous amount of work that we have in front of us. So that's I would say is the big challenge.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but thank you so much for your application, and we appreciate your time. We're probably going to wrap up here soon. I'll let Sarah
Okay.
do that part.
Yeah, we're gonna need to wrap it up here. We've got our next applicant.
Okay.
And again, we take a slate of nominees to the city council on Tuesday, and you can watch the meeting or you can call the clerk's office to find out if you were selected.
Will do. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, it is time for us to take a break. And so I'm going to tell the next applicant, she's a little bit early, that we're going to take a 15-minute break. Is that, or do you want to cut it down to 10 minutes? Because we're running a little bit behind. Hello.
10 works for me, I think.
10's
10.
okay.
Let's do 10. Hey, Emily, we're going to take about a 10, maybe 11-minute break here, and we'll be back around 6:35 when your time is supposed to start. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to stop recording now.
Recording stop.
Okay. All right, we're going to start recording again.
Sure.
Recording in progress.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, let me get this written down here. Emily Miller. Okay, our next applicant is Emily Miller. And Emily, you are applying to be on the Fayetteville Arts Council, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
As a working artist. So tell us a little bit about why you decided to apply for this committee, and a little bit about your particular medium that you work in, and a little bit about your art.
So first of all, I'm happy to serve on the committee in whatever capacity you need filled. So I'm also citizen at large, whatever's available. I am an artist. I'm more craft oriented than traditional art. I grew up in Appalachia, so I have been, my family is very folk craft and folk art. And so I've been involved with that for a long time. I'm a woodworker. Right now, I'm mostly working in stained glass and leather. And I've been doing that for leather. I've been doing for about 10 years, woodworking for 25. And stained glass, I picked up over the pandemic, but I'm making a lot of stained glass. I don't sell things anymore. I don't imagine that I ever will again, because I don't, it just takes a lot of the joy out of it for me. And selling art is a very different skill than making art. And I wrote a whole dissertation about why I'm not gonna sell art anymore. My doctoral work is about making practices and well-being and how economics interferes with that. I do teach leathercraft and stained glass. I teach at the Community Creative Center, and I have taught at a lot of different places over the years, and I really enjoy that, and I want to keep doing it. I like creating new makers that then it lasts forever. Somebody takes a leather class and I see them a year later, and they're continuing to make things, which I think is great. And I think it's important to have places in your community where people can work on their hobbies. Hobbies are real important, I think. And as far as me serving here, I guess I came out of the pandemic like a lot of people did, wanting to do more, my husband and I moved here 4.5 years ago. And when we left Lenore, North Carolina, that's where we came from. And I did a lot of nonprofit work there. And it was one of the most economically depressed areas in the US when we lived there. So it was very, very resource deficit environment. And that is really hard work because you end up doing everything yourself, and you throw all of your events on like $250, and it's just a tremendous amount of work. So when I came out of there, I'd been working really heavy. I was the executive director of the Arts Council board. I'm sorry, the president of the Arts Council board, and we were hiring a new executive director for the Arts Council. And at the same time, I was the president of the library board, and we were hiring a new executive director there. So it was very intense for a long time. And so after I moved, I just decided to take a break. I just, just didn't want to be that involved for a while. And I wasn't really sure how to not be that involved. It's hard, you get in there and there's just so much going on and there's so much need. And, it's like my dad always says, if you want something done, you ask a person who's busy, because busy people are the ones who get things done, Yeah. And I guess I'm just ready to be busy again. I'm ready to be that busy again because, I miss it.
Oh,
So,
great. That's a great answer. I really, I find that really interesting, that you're, from a long line of, have a history of folk art and craft. That's really, that's as important as any other type of art that is created. My mother's a quilter.
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of
She
quilting.
makes beautiful quilts. And, so that's really interesting. So have you watched any of the meetings or anything like that to kind of see what the topics are? Or
I have not watched any of the meetings. I don't come into it knowing exactly what to expect or how it will go, but I'm capable and willing. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Hey, Emily, this is Sonia. You mind if I jump in, Sarah?
Yeah, go ahead, Sonia.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the council member on the committee, and thank you so much for your application and for deciding to get back to busy, because we certainly could you're going in the right direction, getting involved with the arts in Northwest Arkansas, and especially in Fayetteville. So in terms of the Art Council, the big topic right now is the Ramble and bringing that online. With your experience on those two boards, that library board and the previous Art Council, thinking about a big, unveiling of a giant, basically it's going to be like a community jewel here in the middle of the city. Kind of what are some things that you would recommend and think that the Art Council needs to have top of mind right now?
Well, this is a very different town than I was in previously. And one of the things that we struggled a lot with is we used to call it the naked statue issue, that the crossover between trying to not alienate the community and trying to introduce people to art without censoring our artists, whereas because the little old lady on the corner, we don't want to offend her. We want to bring her into the arts community. But we also want to push the boundaries and the limits as much as we can without pushing people away from the arts, because that's the worst case scenario, is that you don't get people to engage. So, number one, I think you might be able to push those boundaries a little more here. I don't know, but I'm excited about that possibility, especially with outdoors. We're such an outdoors community. And, so we have all these people who love to be outside and all of these people who love art, and to be able to put those together and, create a larger community for that, I think this is a great place for that. And I'm excited to see that go more and to push it outside of the Ramble, so the things that start there are seeds that could to spread all over to our parks. And we have the best parks anywhere, and our bike trails, they're amazing. And to be able to bring more of the arts into everybody's everyday activity that's what I think is the thing I'm most excited about. We had in Lenore, we had the largest outdoor sculpture garden per capita east of the Mississippi. So it's like we have to caveat it a lot, but we were really proud of it. And it kept people moving around in our town and engaging in the arts almost accidentally as they were just going about their day. And it was something I thought a lot of, and I'm excited about in Fayetteville too.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. No, we actually have had a naked statue issue in Fayetteville that happened. At some point, we'll have to talk offline. At Art Ventures, which is actually in a new location, but located on the square. And we had somebody come in and make a complaint. But, so we have kind of hit some of those issues, but, we haven't actually thought about that. I don't think since then. I think because the work that we're looking at is so different, but it's possible that we need to consider that as we look at that going more. I guess I just had a different image of what's going to be there, but as we sell things, as we allow artists to display their work, we need to be thinking about how do we handle that. So thank you for bringing that up. The meeting meets on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Every Wednesday. Let's see, every third Wednesday. So that's good for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's no problem. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and I appreciate your energy, and I know all of the things that you've had to deal with and go through, and I appreciate your thesis and the selling, and that's a whole nother thing. We also should get together and talk about that as well.
Yeah, I'd
so
love to.
very interesting topics. I don't have any more questions. Does anyone else? Teresa, Mark, Sarah?
One thing I would ask, Emily, so you're a little bit newer to our community than some of the people are. In your experience of dealing with the different entities that you volunteered for, how did you have a lot of opposing views that you had to navigate, or controversy or anything like that?
Yes, so much. Yes. Not only because, I mean, first of all, I'm a liberal person, and I'm grateful to live in Fayetteville for that. But where I came from was a very conservative area, both in sort of lifestyle and politically conservative area, which, that's very challenging. But that was not really the issue. That was, I could work with everybody. We had city council members and everybody. It was the kind of place where you cannot be elected unless you're a Republican. So the Republican primary decides everything, because that's when the decision is really made. So it was that sort of area. But that was not our issue. The problem that I really encountered was that when we were trying to hire an executive director for the library, the sheriff and the town manager wanted to hire the sheriff's wife because she was retiring from the school system. She had no experience in library science, did not have a master's in library science, which was in the job description before I looked at it. So originally, and it was, I really, that's part of the reason that I left this work, because it was such a battle to try and get somebody qualified for that position. And it took so long, and the state library was really against it, but she really wanted the job, and the sheriff and the town manager were friends, and she really wasn't qualified for it. And it really bothered me that, that the quality of the library in this little town that didn't have a lot of places like that, and in this poor area where the library is so important, was not going to be managed by the best possible candidate. We had candidates with masters of library science, anyway. So that was probably the experience of my life that was the highest conflict that I have ever, because, and it was very, very hard. But we dealt with it.
It sounds like you have a good personality for managing conflict. And Mark and I are probably laughing a little bit because we both grew up in small towns outside of Fayetteville. So we're like,
you know how that works.
I can't imagine that happening at all, ever. So,
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. I really appreciate your application tonight. And we will take a slate of nominees to the city council on next Tuesday. It will be one of the first things we cover in our meeting. Okay. And, we're all on the council. We all serve on the council. And this is our subcommittee for us. But we'll take a slate of nominees to the council. You can watch the meeting and see if you were selected, or you can call the city clerk's office on Wednesday to find out if you were chosen.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate your application.
Okay. Nice to meet everyone.
Okay. Let me get everything back up. Every time I turn away from it, it turns itself off. All right, so we have Gildner. Okay. So Gil,
Evening.
I need
Sorry.
you to unmute yourself. Okay, there you are. Okay, Gil. So you are applying for the PEG board, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you decided to apply for that particular board and what you think your qualifications are?
Yeah. Honestly, my wife and I have lived in Fayetteville for about 3 years now, and we're just wanting to get a lot more involved in the community. We plan on staying here for a very long time. So I have not recently been in broadcast. It's been about 8 years, but for the first maybe 3 years of my post-college kind of career, I was a lot of documentary production, broadcast. So I was a TD at a local TV station for a while. So it's something I've always been interested in. These days I do digital marketing. So we do a lot of OTT stuff. So a lot of video streaming and which isn't quite cable access, but probably close enough. So that's really kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay. So I'm not, do we have anybody, there's no council member that serves on this board, is there? So I'm not really sure when it meets exactly. So one of us usually likes to ask if you have if you've seen any of the meetings or when, if the meeting time will fit with your schedule, because sometimes having a quorum at the meetings is pretty important.
I have watched a few of the videos of the past recorded videos, and I think from what I can tell, it meets quarterly. But I work from home, and my schedule is totally flexible, so I would always be able to be in attendance.
Okay. Okay.
On the website, it says it meets quarterly at 5:30, and it doesn't say exactly when, but it's quarterly at 5:30.
And I'm not sure if it is in person or a Zoom meeting like we're doing now. I'm not sure how they have that set up. So does anyone else have any questions for Gil?
Well, Gil, I'm glad you applied for this. The travels you've had as a NGO worker abroad, and also from Hollywood to Searcy, how can
Well, I went to high school in
places
Searcy, so I was trapped there. But
he was going the other way.
I went the other way.
Went the other way.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you through this, and this is one committee that doesn't get a lot of attention. It used to because of franchise fees and also because of our open channel. So, I'm glad that you applied, and you'll go there and do something, right?
That's the hope. I know it's probably a backwater kind of thing right now and probably not getting a lot of attention, but I don't know. I don't have any previous experience on city council advisory committees, so it might not be the worst thing.
Well, one of the things that we have this, I have never used the stuff. You can take classes to learn how to use all the equipment, and we have some really fairly nice equipment that is open to our citizens to use if they are trained on it. So that's a big thing that this, this organization does. So that's always kind of nice to have. I don't have any other questions for you. I'm just glad, this is not the committee that most people, we get the most applications for. We usually don't get any applications, honestly. So I'm really happy to have anybody apply for this, and especially someone that has some knowledge about the industry and that sort of thing, and could really be applicable to the position.
Well, This is Teresa. Gil, I'm glad that you've applied for this. It looks like you have great experience and a wide range of experience. I have taken a couple of the classes down there. It's been a few years, but if the word could get out a little bit more, and especially with your documentary background, I think this is just terrific. So I think you'd be a great addition there. And thank you so much for applying.
Yeah, I honestly, before I applied and was kind of researching, I didn't know that you guys offered the classes down there. So I would love to get that news out too. That's a very useful thing.
Now that we have 200 or 300 channels, it's not as easy to get to the channel for the government and the public access. Used to, we had 8 channels. And so as you flip the channels, you got on there a lot. That's how old I am. And to me, that was the glory days of public access television, because there wasn't a lot of other programming, especially like we had on our public television. It was great. In my opinion, some people were offended, but we had everyone, So anyway, yeah, thanks for applying.
Well, thanks for the interview.
All right.
Yeah, I know this is Sonia. Just one real quick thing. Yeah, I'm familiar with Cersei because my husband works with Paul Guest there, and they have just created that Paul Guest live show. And then I've also heard about the new documentary that just came out about Cersei, about the bridge. I don't know if you've heard about that or something involving with bridge. Anyways, there's a lot coming out of Cersei. And so I think it's awesome to have our state represented within the committees. And so I'm really glad to hear that you went out and then now you're coming back and giving back in Fayetteville. But I think it would be amazing to have your voice in that board, because there's ways that we can kind of update and do things differently and operate. I think that they would love to hear that, and your documentary experience would be incredible to the city and to PEG. So I appreciate your application and consideration to be involved.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for applying. Did I give you my spiel on the council meeting yet about when we meet and when we vote on this? I don't think
no.
I did. I'm going to do it again if I did.
Okay.
So next Tuesday night, the city council will meet, and this will be one of the first things we cover on our agenda. We will make a suggestion to the council of who we recommend for these positions, and then the whole council will vote on them. And if you are selected, you can watch the meeting to find out if you were selected, or you can call the clerk's office on Wednesday to find out if you were selected.
Okay.
That's usually the 2 best ways to find out.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay. All right. Hello, Brett.
Yes.
How are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. So you are applying for the library board, correct?
That's right.
And you were on the board previously, also correct? Okay.
Yes, I was the vice president.
Okay. And did you, why exactly did you drop off the board?
I can tell you what I think happened.
Okay. Were you not, I just want to make everybody, I know I've talked with some people about this, that possibly you didn't know you had to apply again, or it was time to do that or something.
That's not true at all. I knew I had to reapply. I did reapply. And when my first term ended, it was concurrent with Bren Bagwell's first term ending. And I reapplied to serve my second term. And at that time, to fill Bryn's seat, there were 2 names submitted, a primary candidate and a first alternate. And somehow in the gears turning, both of those candidates were slated into the 2 open seats, mine and Bryn's.
Okay.
And so I was notified that I was no longer on the board. And then I felt disappointed.
Okay. All right. So, but now you're applying to be back on the board, correct?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about your experience on the library board and, a little bit about what you like about it and, any suggestions for the future.
I was really excited to be asked to be on the board the first time. And as an architect who's had experience designing public libraries, I felt like I could bring that to the value of the composition of the board. Okay. And during the time that I served, we went through the initial phase of the work. We did I was present during the whole city hospital situation. I was present in the process of qualifying the general contractor. We got underway. I was able to represent the board of trustees in a lot of the meetings with the library, the executive staff of the library, or the directors of the library, and the architects and the contractor. I was able to be part of a lot of those meetings. It was a great opportunity for me to have the experience of being on the client side of the equation. And I feel like I brought a lot of value to that. And I've also had a lot of experience in the libraries that we've designed to see the inner workings of those libraries and how they're smaller than Fayetteville Public Library, but that's not saying much. Fayetteville Public Library is the best ever. So the ones that we've done, Lincoln and West Fork, are I'm really proud of those, but those are smaller operations than Fayetteville Public Library. And in the time that I've served on the board, I've had a lot of exposure and a lot of experience in design in the decisions that get made in the operation and the function of the board of trustees. So my feeling about Fayetteville Public Library is one of immense pride. I really love being part of it. I love having a seat at the table to help make decisions. I feel like one of the things that hurt the most about unceremoniously being granted a sabbatical from the board was that I feel like the pandemic has denied us the full throttle, open all the valves, pull out all the stops, and get this thing rolling experience that we're all looking forward to. And I wanted to be a part of that. We've worked hard to get to this point, and we're really starting to see the library come to life, and we've worked hard to get here, and I want to be part of that, and part of kind of issuing it forward through the next, the subsequent term that I just didn't feel like my work was done yet.
I'm glad, I'm glad I asked, and sorry if I had forgotten exactly what had happened, but I remember it all now.
It took me a while to get my head wrapped around it. It's
I talked with a couple of people about this before, so I remember I know what happened now. So, okay, as far as I know, you did an excellent job the the last time, and it was possibly just a, a mistake was made, that you weren't, asked to be, continue your seat, I guess. I don't have any other questions for you. Does anyone have any questions for Brett?
Hi, Brett. How are you doing tonight?
Good. It's good to see you, Teresa.
Good to see you. Hey, so are there things that you feel like I mean, I know obviously the library's been through a lot of renovation and expansion. Are there other details or items that you would bring to the table that you feel were overlooked or need to be addressed, or any additional ideas that you might offer?
What I think is that there's really, I can't think of anything novel to add or to aspire to. What I think is happening now is that we have this incredible vessel that is not yet full. And we are, what I'm excited about being a part of is seeing the event center fully programmed and really operating as a gathering place for the city, events and both public open events and private events, and how we learn to utilize that. The innovation center is just mind-boggling how much potential is there. I have a 12-year-old son, and the idea that he could go and learn how to operate heavy equipment, or if someone is interested in developing a career to operate heavy equipment. I mean, there's just unbelievable rich resources for our community, that are they're at the beginning of their potential, and it takes the coordination of the board to support and facilitate those things. We still have fundraising to do, which is, the board of trustees really has to be engaged with the foundation in order to make sure that, we're sort of the body that looks at the foundation and says, okay, well, give us a report. Where are we? What are we doing? What happened over the last 6 months? What happened over the last 1 month? What are our efforts, and how can we help guide that? How can we help influence that? And those are the things that, and I think too, in the composition of the board, it's a small board. So we really have to, one of the things that was, I don't know if I'm answering your question very well, Teresa, but one thing that's important to me is just to represent some continuity as new board members come on. And having served a full first term, I know what it's like. I know what to do. I know the kind of questions that get asked, and I know the times that we're in need sort of the experience and the just the institutional knowledge to convey that to new members. I've been really concerned with censorship, and I've been really concerned with sort of the cultural environment about, banning books and off limits topics. And I want to be there to defend the library and to be active in standing up for what our library values are. And so as far as me keeping an eye on something, saying, I really wish we could implement a, paper airplanes project or something. I bet we already have one. I bet there's one. So I just being part of it and bringing my experience to it's what I'm most motivated by.
No, your answer was very good. It was very helpful to see the process, the stage that the library is in. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like I should ask some intriguing question, but Brett, I don't have one. Sorry.
Come on, Mark.
No. It would get personal, I'm afraid. No.
Brett, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your service so far. You know, I'm not up to date on what occurred exactly, but I would like to, you know, if you're willing to reapply and you're willing to serve again, and you don't have a reservation about that, then you know, I think I appreciate you coming back, even though maybe something got wires crossed. So
I think it was an honest mistake, and it's okay.
good.
And when I convinced myself that's all it was, I thought, okay, well, I hope I can get back on. So
yeah. So I really appreciate the time you've already done, then all of the miscommunication or whatever happened, and then coming back. So thank you so much, and for your continued interest and to reapply. So thanks, Brett.
Well, Brett, it might be timely that you're coming post major pandemic, because now I think the programming and the activity really has a chance to blossom. So
absolutely.
Maybe the timing was a little gift. I don't know. That's how I look at it, because I'm glad you're going to be there at this point of development in the library activity.
Well, I'm crossing my fingers we're fully post-pandemic, and you know, we had a point during construction where there was some communication, some speculation about suspending construction at a certain point. You know, we were all just really groping for the right answer, and I was proud to be part of the chorus that said, no, you never, never, never stop construction. And you know, to have sort of, you know, put our blinders on and said, this is where we're going, and to get here feels great, and to have that experience of the whole, you know, the community re-emerging to find this new treasure is just, I want to be a part of it.
Well, it seems to me it's evident all the time that more and more is happening. My great niece uses the photography studio there, and she comes in from the farm, and she has the opportunity to have a great studio. She did Easter pictures there. I went down, and you know, she wouldn't have had that opportunity anywhere else, not out in West Washington County, you know. But there it is right there. So, and then I went to a couple of good speaker programs there that in the new auditorium area. It's great. So
yeah,
things are happening.
I mean, I've told our clients, West Fork and Lincoln, it's the most wonderful gift a city can give itself. It is the most universal benefit to everybody. You know, it's for everybody, and there's something there for everyone. It's something to be really, really proud of, and we've got a great one. I mean, the best.
Well, I hate to cut this short, but we have another interview we've got to go to. And but what we'll do is we'll take a slate of nominees to the city council on Tuesday, and you can watch the first part of the meeting. It will be one of the first things we cover. Or you can call the clerk's office to see if you were selected. You've been recommended. I don't think we're going to have a problem, putting you on our slate, but you might want to, you can just call the clerk's office the next day to see if you were chosen or not.
That sounds great. It's nice to see you. Sonia, I won't keep you. I think I've worked with your brother before.
You have,
okay.
Probably with foundations, probably. Yeah. If you do anything with foundation work, then you probably have.
That's right. Yeah. So I wanted to just tell you that that's always been a pleasure. So your brother's all right in my book.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. I like him too. Well, I'm glad you do. Yeah. He's out there moving around all over. So good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you all for your work.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Brett.
All right. Bye.
Good night. Okay. Okay, let's get this. Christina?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Sorry, we're running just a little bit behind here.
No, that's fine. I understand.
So you're applying for the Fayetteville Housing Authority.
That is correct.
Correct. Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about your why you chose to apply for this and your knowledge of the Fayetteville Housing Authority and the challenges that they've experienced in the past few years.
Yeah. So it's kind of first, I love Fayetteville, and so I want to be involved. And then when I took a look at the positions open, I found that the Fayetteville Housing Authority was a great fit for my experience. I actually just left Legal Aid of Arkansas, where I worked for a year and some time. And I worked with access to benefits. But of course, everything we did at Legal Aid, and I worked in the Springdale office, no matter what client you had, housing was always an issue that we saw across, I would say, most of our clients. And so having come from that experience and having worked with doing some housing myself, having applied for housing assistance for some clients, and also working closely with housing attorneys at Legal Aid, having seen kind of what our clients saw and realizing the things that they had to, the challenges that they had in the process, made me really interested in coming in and trying to help find solutions, work with the people I have connections with, and work with the Fayetteville Housing Authority to try to make the process easier and better for those who are, seeking low-income housing.
So Christina, it looks like you have a really great fit with your experience and your legal accomplishments. I'm just throwing this out. It might also be helpful to make sure that the Fayetteville Housing Authority is able to navigate all those federal rules and procedures and in terms of grants and requirements and things like that. So do you have any experience in that arena with federal law?
I do. So actually my job I currently took, I'm director of operations at Methodist Family Health. It just is a very new position that I started last month, but that job is basically accounting, ensuring federal, financial requirements are met. We do grants, federal grants, we do state grants, we do state funding. So dealing with regulations set by the state as well. Very familiar with federal regulations. So all of that I have experience in and dealing with in most of my jobs. I think every one of them I've dealt with regulations and that kind of reading them, understanding where to find them, that type of thing. So yes, I do have quite a bit of experience with both grants and regulations that I get the Fayetteville Housing Authority will deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Excellent, excellent. I think you'll be a real asset to them in that. So one last final thing. I think you might have gone to law school with my nephew, William Lahosky.
Oh yeah, I know William.
Yeah. So anyway, just
he was in my year. So yeah, he graduated together. So
cool. Well, thank you for applying. I don't have any other questions. I think you'd be a great fit and a real excellent asset for the board.
I'm excited.
Christina, it sounds like you have some really good qualifications here. Looking at your, sorry, I just lost your application. looking over your application, it looks like you have really good background and some good qualifications with really nuts and bolts things that the Housing Authority probably needs. There are always people that want to do good work and help people and that sort of thing, but we need this Housing Authority has had some problems.
I do know the problems.
Okay. So
I was going to ask about that too.
If I did not bring that to your attention, because we've had a lot of turnover on this, this Housing Authority and some challenges with not, debt that needs to be paid back. And also, I believe, adherence to regulations and that sort of thing. And so it's at a turnaround point, I think. And we need people that will really knuckle down and possibly help with that.
And I think I also bring the benefit of being, the job I have now is in finance. So I do a lot of also dealing with where money goes, how money is being spent. That's my kind of what I do on a day-to-day right now in my position. So
Good.
I have that experience as well, the legal and the kind of financial side.
Good.
So,
That's great.
Yeah, it is
That's
great.
great.
yeah.
Have you gone to any of the housing authority meetings or anything like that? Or
I have not. I went to the last one, of course, because I interviewed, so I was able to listen in on that one. I have had a bunch of my coworkers, not a bunch, but one of my coworkers dealt closely with like the Fayetteville Housing Authority at Legal Aid, and I kind of, I worked with him when I worked there. He, I'm excited to have connections at Legal Aid and being able to bring, because they're the ones who serve that clientele. So being able to, bring that in as well, and kind of, because they're the ones who see the issues day to day that clients come in. And sometimes clients are afraid to come to committee meetings. They're afraid to voice because it's showing up in front of a room of people and talking. So having that kind of knowledge and maybe able to pick their brain a little bit and be like, what issues are you guys seeing and when the day to day? But no, I've never been, but I have had experience kind of with people who do deal with the Fayetteville Housing Authority.
okay, great.
Yeah.
So one last question, Christina. You've been briefed about some of the recent articles that have been in the paper, and that, okay, I just want to make sure that
I've read them. Yeah, I mean,
it's a very public kind of conflict that's been going on here recently.
It is, and I think you're right. I think that they need somebody in there who can really help come in and kind of read the regulations and understand kind of, as we're rebuilding and as this is being changed, how do we make sure that this is changed properly, and how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? Because that's my big thing is, make the mistake once, this is going to be bad, but if we make it again, then it's going to be much more of an issue. It's an issue now, but it's going to be a huge issue if it happens again. So how do we ensure it doesn't?
So maybe some internal processes that would be changed. I don't know exactly how the Fayetteville Housing Authority is structured, but it would seem that you might want to make some amendments to that. So again, that it prevents something like this from going sideways.
I'm a big believer in internal audits. I mean, I think having that control and having that internal processes and making sure those are set up properly, especially when it comes to legal issues, is huge to ensure that you don't have these issues come up. And a lot of times groups overlook that. I think they want to do the good without kind of, even the organization I work for is a nonprofit, and we have to kind of be like, we want to do the good, but we need to set this up properly so that the good we do can stand for a long time and not rush into it too quickly. So.
Excellent. Yeah.
That's one thing that I know we have lots of people that applied that just have really big hearts and good ideas and that sort of thing, but they don't really maybe have not focused on some of the stuff that they should have. And we've got to, we have a core of properties that need to be maintained, and a core of clients that use those properties that need to be served. And that's kind of what we need to get back to focusing on, I think. But that's just me.
I agree. So. And I play the devil's advocate. I can question anything. Of course, I'm a lawyer, so if somebody comes up, I'm gonna ask them, how do we make this better? So that's just my training.
That's what we do need to do. We need to make it better, because if we're not doing that, then we're not helping the people that we really want to help in our community. So
I agree.
Sonia, do you have any questions?
No, I think we've covered everything. I mean, and there obviously is a lot that everyone's mentioned. It sounds like you've been abreast of that. So I think as long as you're understanding kind of the situation where we are, everyone's voiced really what my concerns and thoughts for you are. I just want to commend you for applying and knowing where the FHA is. And I really believe that they're working on getting things better as soon as possible. So any help, any expertise you can lend, I know we would greatly appreciate it. City Council, we just really want them to figure out how to get their heads wrapped around where things are and how to go forward from here. So thank you for your your expertise and your energy and for applying. And I hope that you can contribute to the FHA.
I hope this is a very important resource for this area, and getting it back on track is, I think, it's going to be difficult, but I think it's needed. So.
Exactly. We don't want to lose it. And we were actually, that was on the table for a little bit. So we do not want to lose our housing authority. And so any advice you can lend there and from your legal background or any background is very critical, because we are at a critical point with the FHA. And so we want to make sure to make you abreast of that, make you aware of that, and then also whatever you can do to help us to help the team, that'd be great.
I'm also always up for a challenge, so.
Yes, it sounds like you're very qualified as an attorney.
Thank you.
I'm really, really glad to have someone that has your qualifications that's applying for this. Mark, do you have any questions?
Well, I was chairman of the Housing Authority Board for 4 years, and then I served on 4 years before that. And believe it or not, we were coming out of a crisis when I got on the board. And the key there, though, is we had such good people in the office that knew so much, and they stayed abreast of federal programs. And it really helped us. In fact, at the end of the terms that I was there, we were in the top 97% of the United States for management of housing authority. And that's how come the Hillcrest Towers got a lot of money for renovation. A lot of the money that came here from the Obama administration was sent this way because of their past performance. Yeah. And to see it slip is devastating. But everyone left, everyone retired that was there, Kyra, yeah. And so that did leave a big void. And that's what's so hard, is to get your staff. It's complicated and it's emotional when people come in and they say, I've been trying to get housing for 6 years and I can't get Section 8, what's going on? And it's a lot to balance between the emotional, the ever-changing federal regulations. And it's important that they stay up with it by going to educational programs. We had them quarterly in Little Rock, and then some of our members went to Washington, D.C. I think that engagement helped a lot too, but there's good people over there, and you're going to see a lot of opportunity is what I think.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm looking very much forward to it. So if I officially receive the nomination, then I'm very much looking forward to, I should say, but yeah.
Well, Christina, what we're going to do is we're going to take our suggestion, our nominee suggestion, to the city council on Tuesday. And it will be one of the first things that we vote on at our meeting. And you can watch the meeting to see if you were selected, or you can call the clerk's office.
Okay.
That's we do put it to the vote, but you have been recommended, and but the council still has to vote on it.
No, I understand completely. And I'll find the Zoom link and watch it on Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions before we close here? Okay. Well, thank you, Christina. I really appreciate your application, and hopefully we'll be talking soon.
Well, thank you guys so much for speaking with me tonight, and have a great rest of the night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
So that was our last applicant for tonight. I guess we start back tomorrow at 5, correct? Yep. Okay. Any questions or any answers?
Well, if someone has a packet that's in order like this one that I just looked at that was so good, I would certainly like to receive it. Maybe I have it.
I think Courtney will send us, probably, now that she knows that, this is so helpful to do it this way. I think she'll send us one tomorrow, but it needs to be before 5:30.
Right.
Well, we're getting to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
should we send her a note, or will you, Sarah? Just
I'll do it. I'll send her a note here. Send note.
Well, because that did, it made it a whole lot easier. And so, yeah.
So, okay, so what do I need to ask that we have all the application, in addition to the list of interview times, we have all the applications in order for that night? Okay.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think
Okay.
so. It looks like tomorrow night's not as long as tonight. So that's
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Okie doke. All right then, if we have
Sarah, I
nothing
don't know
else,
how you're doing everything. You're picking up everything, and I really appreciate it.
I'm
It would,
on
it would be
autopilot half the
impossible
time.
for
I'm
most
just
of
like,
us. Yeah.
my
Well, I
parents are
appreciate
trying to kill me.
Well,
They really are, I think.
That
But
sounds
anyway,
like another story.
they're nuts. Anyway, they're moved into a new facility. They're moved into a new home and trying to get the other one cleaned out. So anyway, guys, I'll send Courtney email tonight, and that she can get those applications in order and send it all to us so we have it all. We just open it up and there it is. Okay.
Sounds great.
Anything
Thanks
else
so
before we
much.
close?
Just gonna say
Okay,
y'all
then.
won't have me tonight or tomorrow. Y'all will have Josh.
Josh will be back tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Jack.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. We're
Y'all have a good
adjourned.
night.